Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about onboarding and what that process looks like for me and the kind of experience that I've had. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has sent me in questions. I did kind of my first for me personally, I've done my first Instagram Q&A specifically to make these kinds of videos to help more people. So thank you to loads of people who sent me questions. So this first one is going to be about onboarding, because I got a lot of questions. I mean, from everything from what does my onboarding process look like to how long should onboarding take you, how many resources you should put to it, how long should you offer calls for, and how much should you give away for free or not. That will be another video. But if you want to talk about the onboarding process, so I'll kind of take those in sections. So my onboarding process doesn't involve necessarily a meeting. I know a lot of people don't like that, and some people work when they meet face to face, but some of my longest clients, I don't think we had a face to face meeting for the first 12 months that we were working together, because I'm very much an advocate for not wasting time. I don't want to do something for pretense's sake and because everybody else thinks that they have to do it. So with a lot of my services, it's very clear cut. With the consulting, it's a little bit different, because a lot of that is conversational. A lot of that is being inspired sort of in the moment, having those conversations, coming up with ideas. There's less sort of physical output, there's still reports and things like that, but there's a lot less physical output. But when it comes to copywriting, social media, anything that has a physical output, I have a very clear guideline of what I offer and what I don't. I have a very clear guideline of what my prices are and what they're not. So what I do is I take as much information from basically the first email as possible, and I create a proposal, and I say this is what, and it's a very clear proposal, and I think that's really key, that you outline exactly what you're taking ownership for, what you're doing, what you're not doing. And the pricing, I tend to break it down. I don't like to do, it's going to cost you X per month, it's going to cost you X per month, and this is how. So if people want to pull stuff out or add stuff in or multiply it, so often I've quoted for, say, social media services, and I've broken it down in chunks, and they've gone, okay, well, I want 2 of those, 2 of those, 2 of those, and then it's very easy to then scale up. That comes from experience. So if it's something that you've provided over and over again, it's something you'll easily be able to do this. You can pretty much cut out onboarding for stuff like this. If you haven't been doing it for a long time, then I would recommend, you can either message me and I'll tell you roughly how long it should take, or it's just trial and error, to be perfectly honest with you. What you want to make sure is that you could, if you wanted to, I've not personally done this, but I know a couple of people who have, take on your own social media. So you look at your social media in isolation as if it were a client. This is just for social media services as an example, but you could do this with anything, with a blog post, etc. And you time every single phase of what you need to do. So ideas and conception, graphics, copy, editing, posting, scheduling, and you do those individually. So use a time tracker, write them all down, and then you know exactly how long those services are going to take so that you can quote them appropriately. You can do the same thing with a blog post. How long will, say, a 500 words blog post take you? 1,000 words? The only thing I don't do is I don't offer flat pricing for long form copy, because it can take a lot longer, and for website copy, because you could technically, the output could be 50 words, but it could be 4 to 5 hours of back and forth, of ideas, of this, that, and the other. So that's something different. But if we're talking in the sort of margins of everyday services, that's sort of that process of pricing. Now, I don't do onboarding calls as a standard, to be perfectly honest. I think they're an excuse for both people to try and upsell their services that people don't necessarily want, or for clients to just kind of try and get free stuff. That's just my experience. I've sat on so many calls where I've been asked to kind of pitch and do this, do that. It's like, I'm very much, if you need me and you want my services, I let my experience speak for itself, and I can do that for you. And if you're looking for someone who's going to, kind of jump through all these hoops, then I'm not the person for you. So yeah, I don't do onboarding calls. It takes sort of quite a lot to get me on a call, to be honest. It has to be a project that I'm quite interested in or passionate about and I want to learn more about. But that doesn't mean that I don't get all of the information. So for me, if I was going to suggest to you, if you're doing onboarding calls at the moment or you're trying to do onboarding and you're not sure what to do, I would get a template of the questions that you need. So if it's for a blog post, for example, what do you need? How many blog posts do you need a month? What are you going to be talking about? What is your input as a client going to be? Is it going to be, oh, we're going to give you an entire brief, or do you need me to then propose ideas to you? Because that's in itself going to be more expensive. So you need to kind of outline all of that yourself before you can start getting that from other people. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've never had, I think maybe never, not never, but maybe once or twice I've had someone say, oh, well, you're not willing to kind of jump on an onboarding call. And they've been kind of put off by that. But the types of people that I work with, predominantly agencies, marketing agencies, things like that, and really busy people, they don't have time to sit down and have a 40-minute or even a 10-minute conversation about what they may or may not need and whether I can or cannot do that service. So normally I just go straight out the gate and go, yep, tell me what you need. I'll let you know if I can do that. And there's been plenty of occasions where I haven't been able to do that. And I'm so thankful that I then haven't wasted my time or theirs. So I'll drop them a message and say no, but I will recommend people to them that I've worked with personally. Or if I haven't worked with someone personally, I'll kind of like put them in the direction of a few channels, or I'll ask, because I want to keep that kind of relationship going as being an authority, even if I can't kind of service them and do what they want to do. So yeah, in terms of onboarding, I think do what works best for you. I know a lot of people have, like, there's a fly in this room and it's really annoying me now. I know a lot of people have like a set process, and if you want to automate it and you want to do that, that's fine. That's just, doesn't work for me. It doesn't really work for the type of people that I work with. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the number one thing I've learned about like this whole process is just because it works for one type of client doesn't mean it works for others. So I'm trying to think of an industry now where onboarding calls are really important. So anything in the health and lifestyle industry, I find, so like personal trainers and people in the health industry, they kind of need that personal one-to-one because your services rely on having that personal relationship. In a similar way, managed service providers do as well, because the people aspect is really important. But for things that I do and for the clients that choose me, they're not interested in that. They want high quality, efficient, meet deadlines. And obviously it helps that I'm a nice person. I like to think I'm a nice person, but it's not really imperative to getting everything out there. So yeah, I think do what's best for you. And if you are going to go down the onboarding route, like I said, try to streamline it as much as possible, because you're going to really lose time there. You're going to lose time and money and effort having these conversations with people. Make sure that you put a sort of hard stop on what you will and won't provide for free. That's going to be in another video. But, make sure that you're not just giving everything away, especially if you're trying to go into consulting or you're consulting. It's not a free consultation session. An onboarding session or a discovery call or however you want to call it is not an opportunity for you to give your free services. It's an opportunity to see if we are the right fit together. If I put my time and energy into jumping in a call with someone, then I'm not going to just give away all of my services for free. And if I get on there and that's what a client wants, then I'm not I'll stop the call mid-call and say, look, I don't think we're going to be the right fit. I can put you on to someone else, or you can go away and find someone else, but I'm not here to provide free services, and that's okay. But some people really just want the consultation so that they can get ideas, especially in like marketing, social media and copywriting and things like that, where a lot of it is they just don't have the inspiration themselves. So they've got people who can sort of write generic stuff, but they don't have the ideas to take forward. So I've noticed that a lot of people want onboarding, and it's similar actually in the employment side of things as well, where my husband, for example, had to do like a 5-stage interview, and one of the stages of this interview was to do a real life proposal for them with ideas, with strategy, with structure, and he didn't even get a call back or a discussion back. And I think we kind of said from that point on, like, no more, we're not going to do that anymore. Because some people, even big businesses, big name businesses, that's all they're looking for. They just want ideas. And that's the sort of thing that people aren't really willing to pay for, because they don't necessarily see like a value in that. But if you're someone who comes up with like really cool ideas, like keep that for yourself and don't give that away for free. Again, I will talk about that in the next video. But in terms of onboarding, do what's best for you, do what's best for what your clients want to see. Streamline it as much as possible, template it as much as possible, and try to, if you're going to have a meeting, try to get across to someone else that it's not the start of your services, it's not an engagement, it's not really reflective of anything other than getting your getting yourself out there and deciding whether you're the right fit. And I would keep it to 10 minutes, 15 minutes minimum, once you really get that structure going. I mean, this video has been 10 minutes, and like how much has been said? Quite a bit. So you don't need to have anything more than 10-15 minutes for a discovery call or an onboarding session, things like that. So yeah, that is my suggestion. I mean, it should save you a lot of time and effort, but thank you so much for everyone who asked me questions about onboarding. If I haven't answered your question, put it in the comments or drop me another DM, and I will try and do another video, or I'll message you personally and see if I can cover that. So I'll see you in the next video.